So this is something that we have heard time and again, that everyone tells you, yes, cyber attacks are rising, they're gone up by X percentage. We say that as well. But then very few companies are actually able to tell you why exactly are these cyber attacks really going up, right? These are points that are never exactly evaluated. Some vendors might tell you, oh yes, it's because the number of vulnerabilities have gone up, or people are really worrying about, people are not secure enough, or the infrastructure is not secure enough. That is why this particular cyber attacks are going up. But that's not the reason here. The actual reason is something. There are 5 reasons. We summarize everything rather in 5 points. So there's something to do with democratization of cyber attacks. What do we mean by that, right? So democratization means now the tools that are that used to be earlier available only to a few sophisticated evolved actors is now available for literally everyone, and you can actually target an entity with a cyber attack for as low as $7 to $10. So you can imagine, right? Cyber attacks have essentially become more affordable, and more players are getting involved for various reasons as well. Rise of APT trained hackers who have become independent, right? So some groups which we have seen in parts of Eastern Europe, some parts of Southeast Asia, where they were trained by these state-sponsored hackers, have gone on their own now, and they are either offering their services to these very APT groups, or they are operating on their own, and they are figuring out cyber attacks on their own, or they are really going after certain targets on their own. So this has added a huge volume of cyber attacks again to the overall rise that we've seen in the last year. Then APT groups are monetizing cyber attacks again, because the budgets were cut during the pandemic. Like everything else, the funding sources kind of dried up at that point, because other things became priority for these very governments which were involved in these cyber attacks, or permeating these cyber attacks through these very APT groups. So they were left to actually monetize it on their own. So they started targeting non-state entities and other actors, or rather other entities, just to get ransom to keep their operations going. Which is also the reason why you saw a lot of these hackers going independent, because they were not getting funded anymore. So they didn't find it very sustainable to stay along, or rather hold on to the APT group while they were not getting paid for that matter. So it's a very organized operation. That's the point I want to make out there. Leakage of malware from different sources. Again, we've seen leakages happening from academic institutions, defense labs, and where have you, because when we do a code level analysis, we see some genetic footprints of certain facilities, which we would not like to name here. But then again, at some point in time in the evolution, or during their genesis, this malware actually passed through these particular laboratories that were out there, or they were modified in certain form or manner by certain laboratories or facilities which are connected either with academic research, or they're connected with governments. So again, we are not speculating here in terms of why this has happened, but this has happened. That's a fact again that we would like to place on record. So with large number of malware available, again, democratization, that's the another point, and then a lot of actors coming in that added to the whole problem. Rapid expansion of unprotected threat surfaces. Again, now we are almost at the end of the pandemic, but during the pandemic, we did see a lot of people working from all kinds of locations, unmonitored environments, and suddenly these digital transformation projects, which essentially involved these remote monitoring of infrastructure and the likes, took off in a sudden way. A lot of devices, IoT devices, were added without adequate testing and all that. And all that added to this huge chunk of digital real estate that was available to these hackers to really leverage and do something with, and they didn't wait for it.